Okay, this is part 10, Conclusion by David Wilcock. There is a true wealth of information here for all of us to contemplate, analyze, and speculate on. Overall, what we are seeing is a decisive shift for the positive in the war for freedom, both here on Earth as well as in our solar system. Some of the timelines Corey was warned about as little as 6 months ago indicated we could end up in a Draco-dominated slave society. We were urged to step up, support each other, and walk in our spiritual truth. I personally heeded these warnings and got much more involved in the battle. Therefore, I was greatly relieved to hear these updates. It now definitely appears that we are on a very positive timeline, if not the optimal temporal reality Corey has been briefed on before. I admit that I am disappointed I did not get to meet the Blue Avians in person before they departed from our reality. Up until now, my only interaction with the world Corey has experienced is through dreams and related visionary states of consciousness. There have been multiple ways in which I have used these methods to validate what Corey is saying to my own satisfaction. This includes direct meetings with the Anshar and other such beings in dreams. The steps to contact. You can imagine that for some time now I have struggled with believing Corey on the one hand and wishing I could see these places for myself on the other. Each time I have asked about this, the answer that comes back was that I had not yet developed a strong enough spiritual and meditative alignment to be ready. Does this make sense? Oh, this does make sense, as the Law of One requirements for the highest levels of spirituality are extremely stringent. Corey did not suffer from this same free will clause, in quotes, in the Law of One sense, since he had already consciously remembered his work in the SSP. Part of what I have decided to do in the new book is to frankly outline the guidance I have received as to what I would need to do to be ready for contact. It hit me after Corey's 3-day trip to the inner earth and the messages he brought back for me that the guidelines I was given were truly archetypal. We can all benefit from putting these same concepts to practice. Lots of work to get there. I am in the final stages of making a series of rather sweeping changes in my life that should help to create far more peace and tranquility. This includes the distinct possibility of moving, even though I have been very happy with where I was. I hope to finally nail this down very soon. It is very interesting to think about the perspective of beings who live in these higher densities or dimensions. In some ways, it's very foreign to us. They live in a realm of unconditional love. The kind of hate we routinely encounter here, such as in social media, doesn't even exist as a thought, at least in the positive groups. I was told that I have a very well-developed intellectual capacity, but that I am not only half as effective as I would be if I started applying it spiritually. I have all the tools needed to be much more adept in this area. I simply am not applying them to my everyday life. The Law of One had said the distortion of busyness can be damaging to any type of higher self contact, and I have been very, very busy this past year. All of us can take time to relax, slow down, breathe, and center into the core of our being. These things will happen. You may not want to believe in ascension or that any of what you just read is real. I get that, and I'm not threatened by it. Even if you can only interface with this as science fiction, though I do believe Corey is telling the truth, you can still benefit from it. All of us must journey through the passage known as death. No one has found a workaround for that, at least not yet. Ascension is very different than death. It is a spontaneous evolution, a rebirth. This doesn't just happen to us. It has to be earned. through diligent effort and focus. However, the term effort in quotes can be misleading, as a major part of the requirement is simply being relaxed, happy, and forgiving yourself and others. Many spiritual traditions have suggested that Earth is a school, and if we have learned the lesson, we move on to greater levels. Ascension is just another meditation on a similar concept, but without the aspect of physical death involved. Learning to ground and center. I believe the information on being overly intellectual in my focus applies to just about all of us who are interested in this field. So often I've seen comments railing about how there may be no quote-unquote new information in a given post. This is a great example of over-intellectualizing. The ageless wisdom taught in the Law of One and so many other texts is always with you in your heart. The Tibetan Buddhist monks expressed it as seeing that the universe is ultimately comprised of awareness that is empty, in quotes. Then you meditate on yourself as a projection of that same awareness. This is best done in beautiful nature settings. The Law of One did say a sylvan atmosphere, meaning a home surrounded by trees, is the best place to live for this type of work. Tibetan monks who meditated on empty awareness for 13 years and were able to have every thought be a loving thought activated rainbow body. This is much more difficult and advanced than the fourth density ascension we are heading into, but it is ever possible. I hope these concepts can help you start making happier and more loving choices today. The payoff could be beyond your wildest imagination. Update next morning, very intense times. The personal struggles with the fight to the death against bureaucracy, in quotes, that I mentioned on Jimmy Church's show reached a peak right around the time we were releasing this data. I can only laugh when I think about how incredibly hard it was to get this done, particularly before the end of yesterday. This type of spiritual interference is called negative greeting, in quotes. In the Law of One, Carla always used to say, the more negative greeting you get, the more you know you're on the right track. There were incredible forces trying to stop this from happening, almost unlike any I've ever seen in my life. And look at what has happened to Corey and Emery. Thankfully, that whole conglomerate of issues appears to have been resolved just between the time of the radio show and the final publication of this article. In the year 2525, I passed out very soon after getting this online. I got up, checked the hit counter, and we had already broken 25,000 in the middle of the night. Best of all, it was, you guessed it, a numerical synchronicity. This time it was 25, 25, 2. 3 2s and 2 5s. And this is reminiscent of the classic Zager and Evans song in the year 2525, which was a meditation on humanity's future. And he has a YouTube link for Zager and Evans in the year 2525. It's a YouTube link. When I checked back again, it was almost exactly at the number of the procession, 25,920 years, which is the length of time the cycle that accumulates or culminates in ascension and the solar flash. So he shows the counter, the hit counter, which is 25,922. A list of thanks. We have a growing team that helps make these updates possible. We don't want to end this article without paying them all a big thank you. SBA would like to give thanks to the artists and professionals who have helped contribute to this article. Charles Pemberton, Dorothy August, Daniel Gish, Arthur Herring, Jacqueline Gann Glatz, Jason Parsley, Renee McCann, Renee Armenta, Sam Ritchie, Simon Essler, Larissa Stamarowski, Vashta Narada, Steve Cephalo, Byron Worthen. SBA would also like to give special thanks to Lydia for your incredible support. Additionally, we are grateful to William Tompkins, Corey Goode, Emery Smith, Pete Peterson, and other insiders who have come forward and risked their lives for disclosure. And thank you for helping support this mission by spreading the word and sharing this with like-minded friends and family members. Since some have asked about the original 26-page document I got from Corey, I will say that I only made very minor changes. This includes breaking up a few long sentences, fixing a few spelling mistakes, adding more paragraph spacing, and creating subheadings. Corey did a really great job with this. He was very specific on not wanting me to add to his own writings except for basic editing, and I did not. Sunday, January 14th, 12:20 p.m. synchronicity update. For the second time now, I have come back to this article seemingly at random and refreshed it to see where the hits were. For the first time I did it, I had repeating digits at 65,222. I just held on to it at the time since there was nothing else to say except that this article was again very popular. Here's what I saw. He put that. I just came back here and again checked the same, and the same thing happened. This time it was 115,000. When I went to post it, the hit counter in the website's content builder was shown 115,011. This was even more interesting since I only realized right before posting the article that it was going up on 1/11 at 11:11 p.m. Jimmy Church had said on the air the night before that everyone expected it that afternoon. So did Corey and all of his people. This was not intentional. I was working very, very hard to finish it and had no conscious plans to just so happen to finish that late. So all in all, some very interesting stuff is going on here. These synchronicities tell me that we are definitely being guided through something very profound. Update. Monday, 1:15, 9:06 p.m., a brief word on Mega Anon. This brief update is simply to address the comments that a few of you have directed my way. I recently received a call from Mega Anon in which she was very upset. She had an elaborate and interesting idea about how her material may have been co-opted into the QAnon posts, possibly through some kind of AI automated process. There were also concerns about her being under surveillance based on certain anomalies she was detecting. This in turn made her feel concerned that someone might be able to pose as her and fool the 4chan community. I encouraged her not to worry about it, as with my help we could clearly point out if this ever did indeed happen. I found out later that she posted some of these same concerns on 4chan in an emotional way, including all caps writing. The contents of these posts were a shortened and less detailed version of the same things she was saying on the phone, so it was indeed her, not someone else. I reminded her that her work is heroic, and although we do our best to fight disinformation, there will always be some of it. All right, so I'm not going to be including the comments. This is the completion of the article. This is 10 parts, so that's kind of cool that worked out. All right, well, wish you all the best in love and light, and there will be more updates as they become available. And if you have any interest in hearing more of this, and maybe I could add other articles if you're interested, let me know. All right, thank you so much. Be well.